We see that Japan, as instructed by Washington, is consistently turning this land into a lodgment. We reserve the right to respond harshly to implementation of the Japanese plans.
Russia has sharply criticized Japan's plans to deploy missiles on Yonaguni Island near Taiwan, framing the move as a serious threat to regional security. Russia has publicly warned that it views this deployment as destabilizing and has lashed out at Tokyo for escalating tensions so close to the Taiwan Strait. Russia has also declared that it reserves the right to respond strongly, saying any further progress on these Japanese plans could trigger harsh countermeasures from Moscow. This message is intended to signal that Japan's actions will not go unanswered and to deter Tokyo from proceeding with the deployment. Russian officials have accused Japan of acting under the influence of the United States, portraying the missile deployment as part of a broader militarization drive led by Washington in the region. Moscow argues that the move fits into a wider US-Japan strategy to contain both Russia and China around the Taiwan Strait and the wider Western Pacific.
As for the islands that you have just mentioned, namely Okinawa, we see that Japan, as instructed by Washington, is consistently turning this land into a lodgment by pumping it with weapons which have not only defensive but also offensive capabilities. Such military measures escalate the situation with regional security even further and pose risks to neighboring countries. We reserve the right to respond harshly to implementation of the Japanese plans in this sphere.
Japan is pushing ahead with plans to station a medium-range surface-to-air missile unit on Yonaguni Island as part of its expanding defense posture in the southwest island chain. The deployment is framed by Tokyo as a defensive step to protect its territory and improve air and missile coverage in a strategically sensitive area. Yonaguni Island, located in Okinawa Prefecture, sits roughly 110 kilometers or 68 miles off Taiwan's east coast, making it Japan's closest permanently inhabited point to the island. Its position gives Japan a critical vantage point over the Taiwan Strait and nearby sea and air routes, which is why any new military assets there draw intense scrutiny from regional powers. Russia's concerns over Japan's move come at the same time as public warnings from its ally China, which has strongly condemned the Yonaguni missile plan. Beijing has said Japan will pay a price if it crosses red lines on the Taiwan issue, reinforcing Moscow's narrative that the deployment undermines regional stability. Tensions between China and Japan over Taiwan's status are at their most strained level in years, with both sides nervous about changes to the military balance around the island. The Yonaguni deployment debate and tough political rhetoric have added to fears that the situation could spiral if mismanaged. US President Donald Trump held calls with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi on November 25 in an attempt to calm the situation and prevent further escalation over Taiwan. These conversations are meant to reassure both Beijing and Tokyo that Washington wants to manage the crisis and avoid a direct confrontation in the Taiwan Strait. Xi Jinping was reportedly furious over Japan's warnings about potentially deploying or using troops in relation to a Taiwan contingency, seeing them as direct interference in what China considers an internal matter. For Beijing, any signal that Japan might militarily support Taiwan crosses a sensitive political and strategic line. During his call with Trump, Xi reportedly spent around an hour stressing China's long-standing claim to Taiwan and insisting that external powers must not challenge Beijing's red lines on sovereignty. He used the opportunity to underline that Chinese reunification policy is non-negotiable from Beijing's perspective. Just hours after the conversation with Xi, Trump called Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi to follow up and keep tensions from spiking further. This sequencing underlined Washington's role as a central interlocutor between its ally Japan and its rival China in the unfolding Taiwan-related standoff. Trump reportedly pressed Takaichi to dial down provocations toward Beijing over Taiwan sovereignty, encouraging Tokyo to avoid steps that could be interpreted as challenging China's core interests. The message was that Japan should strengthen its defenses but remain cautious about rhetoric or actions that might trigger a dangerous escalation with China.